Hi, I'm Jenny, the Creative Cookier, and today in this video I'm going to show you how to disassemble and reassemble your AirGeniePro airbrush quickly and efficiently. The first thing you do to disassemble your airbrush is to unscrew the handle and then unscrew this nut, little cone-shaped nut. Pull back on your needle just a tiny bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch, and then come down to this end of your airbrush. Unscrew the crown, then unscrew the nozzle cover. Then you can see the tiny nozzle, and you're going to use the wrench that came with your airbrush to slide on there and loosen it up. And once you have it loosened up, you can go ahead and hold it and then turn the airbrush until you can get that little nozzle off. I like to do it that way so I don't drop the nozzle. It's just easier for me that way. At that point, you're going to come back here on the end and start pushing your needle. Watch out down here, it's going to come out here and it's sharp. So you're going to push it down and go ahead and pull that through from this end. That way, if there's any color built up on here, you're not pulling it back through your airbrush. You don't want to get color on the parts that don't need cleaning if you don't have to. So now that that's done, come over here, unscrew this section. Takes a minute to unscrew because it's kind of long. And when you unscrew this, you're going to find that you have this piece, the spring, and the needle guide piece. So those are those three pieces. At the same time, your trigger will be loose and it may just fall out, as well as this small piece. So once you have all of the pieces taken apart, you're ready to clean your airbrush. To clean your airbrush, just place the housing, the two needle crown and nozzle cover, the teeny tiny little nozzle, and your needle into a shallow bowl of distilled water or vodka. I prefer vodka as my cleaning agent. You don't want to let it soak more than about 30 minutes. If you have an ultrasonic cleaner, that's great too. After you've had your soak and rinsed them out, you will have them clean and color free, and then you can get back to reassembly. So get all those little parts out and ready to go. I'm going to dry this off just a little so it's easier for me to handle. In a perfect world, you will let your airbrush parts all dry overnight so that you're putting together a dry airbrush and you're not leaving moisture in there that could cause some oxidation or other problems. You just don't want to have moisture in there when you're storing it. So now that it's apart, it's time to put it back together, and it's almost as easy to put it back together as it was to take it apart with a little practice. And don't get discouraged because it does take a couple of times to get used to all the little pieces and parts on your airbrush. One thing I like to do before I get started is go ahead and put these three pieces back together. And when you have them together, you're going to see that you have some spring action. When you have that spring action going on, you know those are right and facing the right direction. So now you'll put your trigger back in. And your trigger on the AirGeniePro is made like this. And there's a small slot inside the airbrush. It's very hard to see in this video, but there's a small slot. You'll be able to see it. You're going to turn this and then turn it back and slide it into that slot. And once it's in the slot, hold your finger over the top of the trigger. Now you're going to want to pick up this little piece, and it's kind of shaped like a scoop. I use tweezers to do this part. you want the scoop part to be facing forward in your airbrush. So the way to do that is to put it in sideways and give it a turn, then let go and push this trigger up against it to hold it in place. Then all you need to do is screw this back in. So you'll start screwing it in. When you're screwing it in, you're going to feel some tension start to build, and you can see that is what is holding the lever action and the spring action for your airbrush. Mine has a little squeak, which means I need to lubricate it, and I'll do that in another video so you can see how easy that is as well. But today we're just going to do assembly and reassembly. So now that you have this piece on, you can go ahead and slide your needle in from this end. You can go from this end when it's clean because there's no residue that's going to come off. Don't push it all the way through, because if you do, the sharp end is going to come out here and it's going to poke you. But by putting it in now, that needle is now holding in that lever and your trigger. So you don't have to worry about that falling out while you're working on the rest of your assembly. The next thing you're going to put on is the nozzle. I again hold the nozzle and turn my gun to get started. And then once I know it's in there securely, I tighten it up, use the wrench. Do not over tighten it. If this breaks off in your gun, then you're kind of out of luck because it's not easy fix. But just tighten it till it doesn't give anymore. If you don't tighten it tight enough, when you go to use your airbrush, you may notice air bubbles coming back in. And if that's the case, then just go back, tighten it just a tad tighter, and you'll be good to go. Now you're going to go ahead and put your nozzle tip back on. At this point, I like to go ahead and push this all the way down. You'll see it come out this end. So again, beware, it's sharp. Don't poke yourself. You can go ahead and screw this nut back on now. You should, when you pull the trigger, see that it's pulling it back. Can you see? It pulls this section back. That shows that the needle's pulling back to release your color. Then you're going to go ahead and put this crown cap back on. Being careful not to bend your needle. Screw that back on. And screw the end of your handle back on. And that's how easy it is to disassemble, clean, and reassemble your AirGeniePro airbrush. Thanks for stopping in. If you have any questions, please use the contact me form on this website. Have a great day.